It feels like yesterday when I started reading one of these books here. I have a whole collection back in Greece. Um, these are just my wife's books, and they helped me a lot through many difficulties. Every time I had questions about who I am, where I'm going in life, what do I want to do, these were a big help. But I have a big issue with them. Let me explain. You see, when I was 16, about 23 years ago at this point, I was just a kid. And unfortunately, my family, the society around me, was like everywhere else. If you make a mistake, it's a bad thing. If you don't go through the beaten path, then do you think you're better? You're gonna fail. And these books gave me different perspective. I learned through these books that not only I will have to go through difficulties in life, but it's a good thing. Difficulties, mistakes accelerate growth. And in my darkest days, when I didn't have any money, the first couple of years I moved to this country, when I had a newborn, it was my most difficult situation where I didn't have even power at home. And I fall back on these books and I said, you know what? This book said that this person didn't have food, that this person lived on noodles for many years to succeed. Maybe this is one of these learning curves, one of these lessons that I'm taking, and they're going to help me in the future. So instead of falling apart from depression, I said, okay, what can I do to fix this? It happened to me once. Shouldn't happen twice. It can't continue for too long. I need to take action. And I took action and I bettered my life since. It was because of this kind of mentality that these books provided. But that's where the good things end. You see, the problem with these books is that some authors of this kind of books are not really looking for the average person interest. There's a saying that I believe, it doesn't always apply, don't get me wrong. People that can do teach. Most of these people created their money through teaching. People like Tony Robinson, like Grant Cardone, like Robert Kiyosaki, they made a few money, and then from that point on, they exploded the wealth by selling books, by selling seminars, by taking people's money, people that typically are not well off, and they're looking for a father figure, a mentor. Take that money and invest it, and they get a little piece, maybe, if they're lucky. But they get to keep the lion's share. So they don't make their money through real estate, really. They don't make their money through businesses. They make it through teaching, through the seminars. That's why they do it. I never heard of Elon Musk asking for money to teach you something. Bill Gates, Tim Cook, Steve Jobs years ago. None of these people came to you and said, pay me and I will teach you how to make a business. They were too busy making their own money, their own businesses, being innovators. So if all these people that I talked earlier were truly that successful through their businesses, they wouldn't have time or appetite to sit down and talk and continue doing this for years. So that's their business. The business is teaching. And by teaching, they're making money, and that money they invest, but basically they prey on people like you and me. Now, not everyone is like that. John Maxwell, excellent books, but even that, once you read 2 or 3, you know what the whole story is about. You know that it's basically motivational. There's no piece of hard information that you can actually take and use. It's mentality. Mentality is super important. It's the beginning and the end of everything, but in between, there's steps that you need to take. And that is something that they leave up to you, and they say that you do it. Go find your passion, go find you. And the kind of people that typically read this kind of books, and unfortunately many of these writers, what they teach and what people understand is that it's basically all or nothing.
2 reasons you should work a 9 to 5. Because let's be honest, while working a 9 to 5, you will always be trading your time for money, meaning there's a limit to how much money you can earn. You'll always be dependent on one source of income. You even have to ask your boss if it's okay to take a day off. You'll never be truly free working a 9 to 5.
And that all or nothing mentality, I think in the end is dangerous, because you can have only so much success, only so many billionaires, only so many innovators. There's not a Steve Jobs in every other house. There's not a Tim Cook in every other house. There's not an Elon Musk in every other house. I'm sure there's talented people, but it's not black or white. There's shades of gray, and there's millions. And you can fall anywhere here in that spectrum. And you can be at a very good level, you can be at a not so great level, but with consistency, like compounding. You don't need millions to make millions necessarily. That would help, of course. But you can have small amounts that if you invest consistently, you can have a great life later on. And it's the same with careers. Not everybody is made to have a business, and having a business doesn't mean that kind of freedom that these people advertise. Most people that open businesses are people that don't have options, and I know that for a fact. My family, they all had businesses, but they didn't go to school. None of them went to school. If they had the option to go to school back when they were younger, have a nice, clean job, do you think they would do this kind of businesses? My grandfather was a butcher on one side, 3 butcher shops with his own production. On my mother's side, water well drills, own equipment, everything. Super good money, super hard work. My father, restaurants, super good money, super hard work. 7 days a week, 12 to 14 hours easy. Elon Musk himself is working countless of hours, 70 to 80, up to 120 a week.
My workload went up from about, 70 to 80 hours a week to probably 120. Yeah. I go to sleep, I wake up, I work, go to sleep, wake up, work, do that 7 days a week. I'll have to do that for a while, no choice. But I think once Twitter is set on the right path, I think it is a much easier thing to manage than SpaceX or Tesla.
And you think 9 to 5 is hard? 5 times a week? 40 hours a week? Even if you include your commute, you're not gonna be over 50 on average. I think one of the main things that is missing from today's society in the US, especially for guys, is a military draft, especially for guys. Women, that would be amazing too, if they were willing to participate. You see, in Greece and in many European countries, there's still draft to this day. And I did my mandatory service right after high school for a year. And the first couple of months, I was almost in tears every day because I was so used to have everything made for me. And when I woke up the next morning after I went into the training camp, and somebody was kicking on my bed, screaming to get up, I was in shock. And it went like this for a couple of months. And you don't get paid. You do it for your country. So from that point on, I went into doing everything from chopping onion to marching to training on all kinds of weaponry, from rifles to a tank. I was a tank gunner. Unbelievably hard times, great times. Now that many years have passed, I remember it, and it was a great experience. And I learned so many things that at the point I wasn't appreciating, like discipline, like appreciating how good civilian life is. And once you get this kind of experiences, a 9 to 5 is like a child's play for you. And this is the kind of things that most people are missing in this country. Most people are used to just sit there, play video games through high school, then college, and then get out and try to get a job. And then I see people, new hires, especially in my previous company, they had many new hires, junior positions, and they all look like slobs. Like they were coming to the office dressed like they just wore them after weeks of being unwashed, hair like all messed up, clothing never ironed, never ironing, I guess, is illegal on Gen Z. And the problem with all that is that you present yourself in a certain way. You think you're entitled to get jobs like that. And then when they're not offered to you, you get upset. Or when they offer to you, you get upset because you actually have to work. So this kind of books, this kind of mentality, all these motivational YouTube videos, they're great up to a point. But after that point, you need to leave them behind and go into action. And being open-minded enough to know that you don't always need to think outside the box, because we have come to a point where being an entrepreneur is detrimental in the minds of some. Like if you're not an entrepreneur, you failed in life. You're a slave of the system. And the thing is that all this system that we live in today was created only 100 years ago. Before that, children, 10 years old, they were working 6 to 6, 12 hours a day in coal mines. And that was the norm. It was Henry Ford that created what we know today as 9 to 5. That gave enough money to people to not only live and survive, but have the luxury of a car, a weekend with a small vacation. The things that we take for granted today was a dream for humanity for most of its history. And here we are today complaining about that. If you work in the US, right out of college, my first job here was $52,000. If you contribute, and let's say you have a company match, 50% up to 6% of your salary is very typical. If you contribute that kind of money from beginning to end, by retirement age, you're going to be a millionaire. Guarantee, almost. So there's other ways to make money. But the first thing to do is to actually take action and realize that take action can be as simple as getting your first job. But that's all for today, guys. Let me know what you think. How do you like motivational books, motivational videos? How do you like all these people like Tony Robbins and Robert Kiyosaki? Thank you so much for watching. Until the next one, ciao.